Okay, we're going to do a little cooking video today, sort of. I'm going to make some beef jerky. It's pretty simple. Everyone thinks it's a hard process, but it's not. I'll show you how it's done. You need yourself a large bowl. The hardest part of making jerky is the meat. It does take a long time to get this sliced up. You got to cut all the fat out of it. Make sure it's nice and lean. I've tried several different recipes and I've narrowed it down to the minimum ingredients that I can use and still get a good tasting product. So for that, you need a half a cup of soy sauce. You need 4 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. 4 tablespoons of liquid smoke. I'm a little short, I ran out, but still work. I go with a tablespoon of salt, teaspoon of black pepper, and some brown sugar meat rub. This stuff is made by a local butcher shop. I don't know exactly what's in it, but it gives it a nice little taste. You can make your own, add whatever spices. If you like it hot, throw some cayenne in there, or ghost peppers, or whatever. So we get all this stuff in there, and we want to whisk it up a little bit. This is just to break up any lumps. When I first started doing this, I just used regular brown sugar and some meat tenderizer, and I was adding spices, and I was reading the ingredients on their meat rub, and it basically had everything that I was using, so it's cheap. We'll do that, then we add our meat. This is for a 4-pound batch, by the way. So I just want to knead this, turn it almost like bread, make sure it soaks up all that marinade. It gets on everything. If you got 2 pieces stuck together, sometimes what'll happen is you get a piece with only one side coated. Don't get as much flavor. It still tastes alright, but so take a look in this bowl. You can see that there's barely any marinade left, and that's what you want. A little bit extra is fine, but if it's dry, you don't have enough to cover your meat, and that's not going to end well for you. Another thing to look out for is when you're taking the meat out is make sure everything looks the same. If you've got, if you pull this piece of meat out, you can say, okay, yeah, it looks like it's got, I can see specks of pepper on this one, but not on this one. You don't have enough pepper to cover everything. And if you like more pepper, add more. If you like less, there's less. So that's mixed up pretty good now. So it's morning right now. This is, I think this was an inside round roast. I made it out of pork, whatever. I go through the grocery store and I find a reasonably priced piece of meat with very little fat on it, whether it's pork or beef. I don't care. Pork is a little quicker. So I'm just pressing this all down right now. I don't know if this is necessary, but I like to do it. You take all the air gaps out of there, it stops the marinade from draining out and not properly coating certain pieces. Okay, so if you take a look there, you'll see, try and get this on camera. Watch this back edge, you can see where marinade's running out. So we know we got enough. We're gonna have good coverage and good even flavor. So what I'll do now is I'll cover this with tin foil. I'll put it in the fridge and I'll let it marinate all day. And we'll get back to sticking it on the camera later on, or get the camera going again when we stick it in the dehydrator. I'll go through this a couple times during the day, turn it over, flip it around, press it all back down again. I'm not going to bother filming that. I don't need to waste time with it. But it's going to make some real good jerky, and it's a real simple recipe, and I think you should enjoy it if you want to try it. So we'll see you pretty much right now, but it's actually going to be tonight when I get to film the rest of this. Okay, so my meat's been marinating all day. It's been about 11 hours or so. I've turned it a couple of times. So we're ready to put it on the dehumidifier. There's one important thing you got to avoid doing, and a lot of the instructions I've seen, recipes and stuff, would actually tell me to take the meat and put it on paper towel and pat it dry. You do not want to do that. That's very bad. I did that the first few batches and it ruined it, because what happens is you look at this meat, see the little specks on there, pepper and seasonings and stuff like that. When you do that, put them down, and they tell you to kind of like do this type deal. When you do that, all the seasoning sticks to the paper towel and you lose it. So I kind of do it on a piece by piece basis. These top ones here are fairly dry. I'm just going to set them on just the way they are. Now if I get one that is soaking wet, like this one here, I pulled this one towards the bottom. I just set it on the dishcloth that way and that way, and you know, maybe just pat it a little bit. That's it, just enough to get a bit of the moisture off, and that's all you need to do. If you do any more than that, you're just gonna take flavor away. You know, this doesn't take too long. It's a pretty easy process. You just lay it out. You never want to overlap anything. If they're touching, it's fine, but so I'm going to get this all laid out here, and I'll show you what I got when I'm done with that, and then I'll show you the finished product when it's all cooked. Okay, so I have my dehydrator loaded up. I got 5 trays on this one. This will only hold about half of that batch, so in the morning when this is done, I'll put another batch on. It smells really good. I run my dehydrator on high all night. It goes up to 70 degrees, that's 160 Fahrenheit. A couple of things I forgot to mention. When you're mixing your solution up, the marinade, before you put the meat in, you can do it after, but before you put the meat in, stick your finger in, give it a little taste, and if you think you need a little more of something, that's when you want to put it in there. Another thing is, if you look at my pieces here, you'll see I've got some big ones and some littler ones. I did that on purpose. I took my roast and, you know, I cut it. Say this is the roast. You know, I cut it this way, and then I cut a few off the end. The problem, if they're all exactly the same size on these round trays, is they're really hard to fit in there, and you end up having to cut them or rip them in two to fill them. So I found some random sizes work a little better. So put the cover on that, let it go all night, and we'll give a little taste test in the morning and go from there. Okay, so this has been running now for about 10 hours. And as you can see, it's significantly smaller than it was before. Everything looks pretty good. The bottom stuff will be the driest. Yeah, everything looks good. I'm just looking for a thick one. There was one here that was quite thick. There it is. Yeah, that's completely dried out, so we'll give her a little taste test here. Yeah, it's really good. So with this recipe, you first put it in your mouth. You won't get much taste for the first second or so, but as soon as it starts to re-moisturize in your mouth, we get a big burst of flavor. My favorite recipe. I like it just as good as the stuff you can buy. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them behind. And yeah, give it a shot. It's not that hard to make.